Welcome to part 2 of our analysis of the 12-day Iran-Israel war. In the previous video, we addressed Israel's propaganda claims. Now, we will address Iran's claims. Iran claimed that they had shot down at least 3 F-35s, that Israel did not have air superiority, and 3, that they had the advantage during the war. The F-35 is an easy one. There is simply no evidence that Iran shot down an F-35. Zero, zilch, nada. There were unverified claims from influencer accounts that Iran would release footage of a captured Israeli pilot. There were even reports that this pilot was a woman. But until this day, nearly a month after the conflict, zero evidence has been brought forth. There is no wreckage of an F-35 or any other fighter jet, and there is no pilot. And accounts are no longer making this claim. When calling this out on social media, I've been told that Iran is concealing this sensitive information for strategic purposes. But that's complete nonsense. In wartime, shooting down an F-35 would be the greatest footage to dispel any rumors about air superiority and reduce morale in Israel and its Western backers. So you would never conceal such information. In fact, you would be celebrating it and propagating it widely, especially to potential customers who would be racing to purchase your air defense systems. 2. Israeli air superiority. As we have already thoroughly covered in part 1, Israeli jets did penetrate Iran's airspace. Regardless of whether or not they penetrated deeply or whether or not Iran's air defenses are intact, the desired effect was the same. Israel achieved the ability to strike thousands of targets inside Iran through standoff missiles, glide bombs, drones, missiles, and car bomb assassinations via their Mossad agents. This footage here went viral recently, showcasing an Israeli bomb on a civilian area in Iran. The projectile penetrates the ground and sends cars flying through the air. This is not a projectile that a drone would carry. This is a heavy explosive munition launched from fighter jets. Now, regardless of whether Iran's air defenses are fully intact or not, they were unable to prevent this. And it's why Iran immediately sent representatives to both China and Russia after the ceasefire to shop for more equipment. We'll explore this later on in the video. Finally, Claim 3, Iran had the advantage during the war. This is partly true. You see, Israel's attack failed to decapitate Iranian leadership or produce regime change, and it failed to eliminate Iran's ability to retaliate. So Iran was able to respond decisively, pummeling Israel's air defenses for 12 days straight. At first, Iran pelted Israel's air defenses with hundreds of missiles. Then, however, their attacks slowed down and were reduced to a few dozen missiles. Israel claimed that this was evidence of Iran running out of missiles and launchers, but it was actually the opposite. Israel had been running out of air defense missiles, specifically the Terminal High Altitude Air Defense Missile, otherwise known as the THAAD. In a single day, Iran forced Israel to exhaust 39 THAAD missiles in just one attack. Israel deployed at least 39 THAAD interceptor missiles in one of the attack waves to counter Iranian missile strikes. This figure is based on an analysis of videos published by Jordanian photographer Zaid al-Abadi, using geolocation techniques and assessments of missile stage ignition timing. The identified interceptors include 34 Arrow 3 interceptors, 9 Arrow 2 interceptors, and 39 US THAAD interceptors. The exact cost of Arrow missiles has not been officially disclosed, but estimates place them at around $4 to $5 million per missile. In comparison, each THAAD missile is estimated to cost around $12.8 million, meaning that the value of the THAAD missiles alone used in this one wave from Iran exceeded $498 million. A striking detail is that the United States had ordered only 41 THAAD missiles over the last 3 years, some of which were intended for export customers. This highlights how quickly interceptor stockpiles can be depleted even in a short-term war. So this is very significant. Yes, the missiles are expensive, but Israel has demonstrated that they have the money and the willingness to spend it. But this isn't an issue of money. This is an issue of production. And the US simply cannot produce enough air defense missiles for Israel to use in an extended war, especially with the Ukraine war still raging. And this is consistent with Netanyahu's stated time frame for the war. When Israel first launched their attack, Netanyahu informed the public that this would be a 2-week operation. This is because he believed that Israel would either topple the government or run out of air defenses. As we now know, Israel did indeed run low on their air defense stockpile. As a result, Iran was able to keep penetrating Israel's airspace and pummel targets. This is why Iran reduced their missile waves. They had exhausted Israel's air defenses and did not need to keep overwhelming their systems. So they decided instead to reduce their missile waves for an extended war of attrition that could last for months. On top of that, Iran had begun to gain control over the Mossad operatives working inside Iran. More arrests meant fewer espionage attacks, which would reduce Israel's ability to cause havoc. And Iranian air defenses were now beginning to take out more and more Israeli drones. So for this reason, Iran had actually gained the advantage. And Israeli media confirms this. In reporting on why Israel had agreed to a ceasefire, quote, "The military and political leadership agreed ahead of time to set achievable goals for the war. 12 days in, the IDF reported that those goals had been attained and that Israel's position would weaken and Iran's strengthen if the war continued." Now this quote is very telling. If Israel had completely destroyed Iran's air defenses, fully established air superiority, destroyed Iran's missile stockpile and missile launchers, why would there be any assessment that Iran could gain the advantage? The answer is simple. It's because none of those claims were true. So because of Israel's failures, Iran did actually have an advantage.
Trump did not force Israel to stop the war. The Israelis asked us to stop the war. The Israelis were in deep trouble. The Iranian ballistic missiles were pounding Tel Aviv and Haifa and other cities and military installations around the country. And at the same time, the Israelis were running out of defensive missiles that could shoot down those incoming Iranian ballistic and cruise missiles. So the Israelis were in trouble, and they wanted us to put an end to the war.
However, it clearly wasn't much of an advantage because Iran agreed to a ceasefire and cut the war short. So we've taken a while to get here, but it's now time to discuss who won, who lost, and what might happen next. To determine who won, we need to define victory. And in this case, victory is a political term, as there was no decisive military victory achieved by either side. Israel set out to topple the government. Their operation was titled Rising Lion, but the lion did not rise. The people did not overthrow the government, they didn't even try, and the government did not collapse. In fact, the government was strengthened by the rally around the flag effect. So, Israel failed to achieve their objective and therefore lost. And by not losing, Iran won. But this isn't really a victory Iran can celebrate. Their air defenses and intelligence services were completely humiliated on day one of the war. They allowed thousands of Mossad agents to roam unchecked throughout the country and couldn't protect their most valuable human assets in the form of IRGC officials and nuclear scientists. This is a very serious shortcoming. In response, Iran immediately sent envoys to both Russia and China. In Russia, Iran was seeking to expedite the transfer of S-400 air defense systems and Sukhoi fighter jets to modernize their air force. A former speaker in Iran's parliament, Ali Motahari, took to X to vent frustrations about Russia's reluctance to give them the sophisticated S-400 defense system. Russia has given the S-400 air defense systems to Turkey and Saudi Arabia, but does not give it to Iran, which has provided it with drone assistance in the war with Ukraine, because it might be used against Israel. Very serious tension. By sending envoys to Russia and having political officials vent frustrations like this, Iran exposes the truth about their vulnerable air defenses. As a result, Iran also visited China to explore the possibility of purchasing their defense equipment, including the J-class fighter jet, which impressed the world recently as the Pakistani Air Force used them to down several Indian fighter jets. China and Russia have both expressed a desire to assist Iran, but it's unclear if they will do it fast enough. Even if they do, mastering the operation of advanced air defense systems and fighter jets could take up to a decade. Iran doesn't have this sort of time, but Israel doesn't either. There is no way for the US to advance the production of THAAD missiles, so it's likely both sides will be unable to improve their air defenses before the next round of warfare. Now here's the thing, if you're gonna lose, don't lose completely. Live to fight another day. Iran survived this encounter, and now they have the ability to turn their losses into lessons. The problem, however, is that Israel still controls the pace and tempo of this conflict. Israel is the one who decided to carry out the war. They set a time frame for themselves of 2 weeks, and even though they failed to topple the government and took major blows from Iran, the likes of which Israel has never experienced before,
that was the biggest hit, the biggest disaster that the city ever had in nearly 100 years. In one day, we lost 9 of our people, 200 was injured, and more than 2,000, more than 1% of our population are now homeless. They are living at hotels, but we are not looking at yesterday, we're looking at the tomorrow.
Israel's aura of invincibility has been shaken.
they were still the ones who decided when it would start and when it would end. This demonstrates a level of control that Iran simply doesn't have. And we haven't even discussed whether or not Trump successfully destroyed their nuclear program. That's a topic for another video. The thing to understand now, however, is that this war is far from over. This ceasefire is merely a pause in hostilities as both sides try to quickly prepare for the next round, make improvements in how they can carry out their own strikes, and find creative ways to improve their defenses. It's impossible to predict who will come out on top, but what we can expect is that Israel and the US will be the ones to decide when the next battle starts. The only thing Iran can do is strengthen their ability to decide how and when it might come to an end. But what do you think? Am I missing anything in this analysis? I'd like you to comment your thoughts below. And if you liked this video, please become a subscriber to this channel and support our work. These videos take time and effort. We are self-funded and work part-time jobs just to keep this media project afloat. So please do consider helping us out with super chats, super comments, and paid subscriptions. However you want to do it, we need your financial support. I'm including links for how you can support us in the description of this video. Until next time, take care of yourselves.
Trust nothing. No